Hello, everyone. Welcome to the fourth episode of the Simple Talk podcast. We're really thrilled to have on Coach BJ Dunne, who is the head coach at Gettysburg College at the Division III level. How you doing, Coach?
Doing great, John. I appreciate you having me on, man.
No, it's great. We've been trying to connect for a couple weeks with the crazy summer basketball schedule. I'm glad we were able to find some time. So normally, how we like to start, obviously, if you wanted to introduce yourself to the audience, give a background of obviously your coaching career and how you got to where you're at, and your family, and other interests you may feel like sharing.
Cool, awesome. Well, again, I appreciate it. I love talking hoops and just talking culture and life. This is great. So, I guess just my journey. I'm currently the head men's basketball coach at Gettysburg College. I've been here for 5 years. I'm from a really small town in Massachusetts called Medfield. I'm a huge Boston sports fan. My whole career on the stops, I've never really been back in Boston. So I've always been behind enemy lines. So, I still have strong loyalty ties to my home. But I think being from a really small town of like 10, 12,000 people, I just developed a strong sense of just affinity and love for, communities and what that really means and looks like. And I had a great student athlete experience at Bates College, had an opportunity to compete in the NESCAC and played on some really great teams with some really great players. And was fortunate to be coached by two really great coaches who mentored me and, who instilled in me, I think, a belief and confidence that, I could develop into a strong coach someday. When I graduated from Bates, I had an opportunity going into my senior year of college where I interned with the Maine Red Claws in the D League. So before it became the G League, that's how old I am. And it was in the Red Claws inaugural season. So they hadn't really hired a coaching staff yet. They hired Austin Ainge like a month into my internship, the son of Danny Ainge. And I spent a lot of time in our president's office, breaking down game film, watching summer league, discussing which players might not make NBA rosters, who could we possibly draft or sign, who might want to come over from Europe and play in the D League. And it was really fascinating, interesting, but it's really where I saw that game in the front office, like as players as commodities. And I realized that what I love so much about basketball is that relationship piece, that teamwork piece of working together to accomplish a goal. And I didn't want to be that guy who was in the front office who was trading guys and signing guys. So I had an opportunity my senior year. I was a student assistant. When I graduated, I spent a year at Babson and Emerson. I worked for Stephen Brennan and Jim O'Brien, who both were National Coach of the Year award winners. So pretty cool for me as a young assistant to work for two guys who received the highest honor you can in coaching. And that then took me to Vassar College, where I was the youngest head coach in the country at all levels, and took over a program that had been to two conference tournaments in 42 years, and we were able to turn that thing around and leave it in a better place. And we went to a conference championship game. We played in three conference tournaments in 5 years, and then my wife, who I had met when we were at Emerson, was a Gettysburg alum and had just an incredible student athlete experience at Gettysburg. And when this job opened up, we felt like this was the perfect place for us to really start and grow our family. And in a lot of ways, Gettysburg had a lot of the characteristics that I was looking for along the way in terms of, how they valued athletics and how they wanted to see athletics, they supported it and really wanted it to succeed. And that's where, we're here now. We have a soon to be 3-year-old who goes to daycare on campus. He always hangs around at practice and games. He's celebrating in the locker room. He's become, a huge part of our team. And I think our guys just like total enjoyment in their careers and their life here too at Gettysburg. And then obviously that's how we connected. And, now we're here getting ready to talk some more shop, man.
Yeah, man. You could always tell, like, from a program, right, as the top guy, and the trickle down, like the genuine and organic belief in instilling positivity and influencing others. So when I look at your program, I think you guys do that very well. And obviously, we're both basketball guys, and I say this a lot on this podcast. I try to use the tools basketball and sport gives us and relate it to real life situations. So when I think about your program, and you're wearing the shirt right now, your trademark or your hashtag is Pound the Rock.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a very great saying. I obviously have my own take on it, but before I speak, I would love for you to tell the viewers, what does Pound the Rock mean to you? Why did you decide that this is your program's hashtag and your one line to live by?
Yeah.
And the value of it on the court, but more importantly, and how people listening to this can take pounding the rock to make them better in their day-to-day life.
Yeah, so I think, I'd start with, I think my greatest failure in coaching was my second year as the head coach at Vassar. My first year, we set all types of program records. We won 19 games. It's the most wins in program history. We won the most conference games in program history. We were picked to finish second to last in the league, and we lost in double overtime in the championship game. And we had a ton of success that year. My second season, we brought everybody back but one player in that rotation. And I think I handled that group in that situation incredibly poorly, where I was so fixated that we had to get back to the championship game. That was all that mattered. And that's all I stressed. That's all we talked about. And our first team meeting, we watched the double overtime loss, just broke it down. And our first practice and every practice up until our first game, we had the score on the scoreboard. And it was just constantly in our guys' face and hey, Captain Obvious, Sherlock Holmes, we're all mad about this. You don't need to rub this in our face anymore. And I had no idea. I was 26 years old. I was my second year head coach. And I think what ensued after that, I wasn't prepared for, nor did I prepare our guys for. So our best player towards MCL as a sophomore the year before, he was all region, averaged 20 a game. He never played for us again. Towards MCL 3 straight years. Our starting point guard tore tendon in his shooting wrist. He shot 53% from three the year before and was second in the nation. We had our combo guard who started for us had a slip disc in his back. Our best freshman, who ended up being the 6th all-time, leading scorer in school history, dislocated his thumb in the second practice and was out till January. And then I had 2 guys who dealt with concussions all year. So needless to say, we really struggled. We won 6 games, and you go from being picked to finish 8th, playing in a conference championship game. Next year, you got everybody back but one. You're picked to finish first, and you finish last. That was a really hard offseason for me to be what just happened? What did we do? And I think when you get away from the blame, complaint, and deflecting, and you look in the mirror, it's dude, that was on me. I didn't prepare us to handle adversity. I didn't prepare us to be continual learners or be curious or be able to overcome obstacles or push through any of that. And I think that's when I kind of developed this idea of I'm going to be where my feet are. Our guys are too, and we're going to try and get better every single day. And then it kind of has enhanced to at Gettysburg, where we talk about just pounding the rock. And my philosophy on that is we have to play the infinite game. There is no overnight success. No one ever just wakes up without ever having put any work. And it's just unbelievable at what they do. And I think there's an understanding of the importance of impactful daily improvement and progress in the world where everybody wants instant gratification. For us, when that game ended in the conference championship game, that next day I was we're getting back. Well, there was 364 days between those 2 dates. We're not getting back. We have to do daily deposits to get better, to put us in a situation to get there. So we know in our program, our goal is to win a Centennial Championship. It's to win a national championship. And we say at the end of every day, hey, we can't win one today, but we can certainly get better and get a step closer. And I think when guys have this relentless pursuit of continuous improvement and there's effort on effort and hey, you're going to fail, you're going to plateau. But when you have that discipline to be able to show up every day, have that consistency to do your job, that's where the magic is, because a lot of people don't want to show up every single day and do their job. A lot of people want to do what we did and just say, hey, we were in a championship game, we're going to get back. But we're not going to attack every single day with that growth mindset. So, that pound the rock creed is looking at that stone cutter and he's hammering away. And when nothing seems to work, when he splits that rock on that 100th blow, it wasn't number 100. It was 99. It was all 1 through 99. And I think that's been really important for our program as we've kind of risen to. But I would say, like, that's kind of what I believe in Pound the Rock. I think that's what our guys believe in it. Like, we have the rock outside the locker room. You've seen that, like, guys touch it. It's kind of just like become our thing. Like, we're going to get better in every facet. We're going to be more. We're going to do more. We're going to strive to be better. And, it's really worked for us. And I think also, like, in a world where there's so many ideas, and strategies, like, I just think when you just focus on doing your job, showing up, getting better, it makes things simple. And I know that's your big thing.
Yeah. No,
So
I think it's great. I think it's fantastic. It's funny, you mentioned the Stonecutters Creed. I have it pulled up, right? So people that aren't familiar with it, the Stonecutters Creed is: when nothing seems to help, I go look at the stonecutter hammering away at his rock, perhaps 100 times without as much as a crack showing in it. Yet at the 101st blow, it will split into two, and I know it was not that blow that did it, but all that had gone before.
yeah, man, it's like chills. It's awesome. It's just like,
Yeah, it's a way, I think, like you're saying, we live in such a result-oriented society where because of social media,
yeah,
and we are just trained to focus on the result, and we don't enjoy and fall in love with the process and the work that's required to propel us to that final blow,
yeah,
where we push a barricade, where we find a milestone, where we get that promotion, just anything that our goals align to. We just try to fast track it. And instead of, like what you're saying, and obviously coming from Blair Academy, in my last episode, Joe Mantegna and myself spoke about it as well, as being where your feet are, and just being where your feet are, getting better every single day. And me and my friends say it all the time, but we say it jokingly. One of my best friends, LaRosier, who's a personal trainer in Philadelphia, like, we just say, just work,
yeah,
like, every day, like, just work. Like, how am I going to get better today? I wake up every day, like, how am I going to get better? Whether it's coaching, a person, in the weight room, anything. Like, if I'm getting better at something today, then I'm going to see the benefits from it tomorrow. And I think that's what your program
yeah.
and what Pound the Rock stands for. And I think it's very powerful.
Yeah, like, we always tell our guys, like, don't be a hungry ghost. Like, a hungry ghost to us is someone who's result and goal driven without the process. So, like, you want to win a championship, that's your goal, you win it. Like, what's next? Like, behind mountains are more mountains, and, like, that's what's fun, and the joy is in that work and in the chase. And I think people who are just, like, so, like, goal driven, like, they just become exhausted and they become hungry ghosts. Like, they're constantly chasing that door, they're constantly chasing that goal, and they're missing out on all the life fulfilling and personal growth that happens in the process. And like you said, like, when someone wants to put in that work and get better, like, those are people that you want to be around. Like, we gravitate towards people who are life learners. And I think it just, and then again, it just makes for, like, a way more enjoyable experience when everybody's in your locker room, everybody in your circle is curious and they have growth mindsets, and they never want to settle and be, never want to settle for who they are, what they are. They always envision more.
Yeah. And I think, like what you're saying, I think another aspect of it that might get overlooked is it takes a certain level of self-awareness mixed with vulnerability,
No doubt.
to be able to live your saying every day, because in order to pound the rock and keep going without being attached to the result, there's going to be days where, you might not get that perfect workout in the basketball gym or in the weight room, right? You might not have the perfect circumstances where, your family situation is great, your health is great.
Mhm.
And there are all these circumstances in life just gets thrown at you. And if you could still take, like what you said, and we talked about it a lot when I was on your campus about adversity, when you could take the adversity and find the perspective and the lesson in it, to wake up that next day and pick up that axe and go just hammer away again at that rock. Like, I think that's the life value and the perspective of what you're doing at your program that translates into the lesson that we can learn as people to make us better. So that's why I think it's very powerful, and I think it's great.
Awesome.
So aside from that, like, what would you say to people, right? How could someone pound the rock daily when no basketball, like you're doing whatever your job is in your career or your family, right? Like, what are some of the things that you teach your guys or your family if you bring it to your house as well? Like, how would you fiscally pound the rock daily? Like, what are some traits and some tactics that you think that would help?
I mean, I think that the discipline piece is huge. Like you talked about it, of like, maybe you didn't have a great workout, but you did get a workout in. Like that to me is discipline. Like you showed up, and then it's on you to be cognizant and self-aware of maybe why that wasn't good and how you can improve. Like, I don't know if we have any, like, fiscally, like how it gets done, but I think the ways that, like, we talk about with our guys, of like why we want them to pound the rock on and off the court, I think that life fulfillment piece of always knowing that you are improving and always striving to be more than where you were yesterday. I think it gives you increased confidence. Like when you can show up every day and you have the discipline to be able to pound the rock and improve, and push through that adversity, like, man, you are going to increase your confidence in who you are. And I think when you increase your confidence in who you are, you're going to be more equipped to handle relationships and to be an effective communicator, because you know that, like, you can overcome obstacles. You're adaptable to change. And I think at the end of the day, like, you're going to be impactful. Like, people want to be around people who are committed to that getting better piece. And then, I think for us in our program, I think the tangible ways that we talk about getting better for men's basketball is, we have a clear vision of where we want to go and the steps that we have to take to get there. So our guys know that we have a couple of things that we expect of them every single day, and that you're going to put the team first. And in order to get better, you have to check your ego. You have to be selfless. You have to sacrifice. You have to give yourself up for something bigger than yourself. You have to be able to bring the juice. Like, if you're going to get better every day, man, you better have jacked up, intense, contagious energy. Like, you better be positive. People better feed off of that. I think that passion, intensity, enthusiasm helps be transformative, and it can empower people to excel on and off the court. And then we talk a ton about competing. And I think the biggest thing with competing and being able to pound the rock is you do what you do. And we always say in our program, like, we compete and we do not compare. Like, that we are Gettysburg. This is who we are. This is who I am as a coach. And I think that's really crucial to being able to get better, because it's really easy to look at the guy next to you, or the guy in front of you or behind you, and, like, everybody runs their own race. Everybody gets to a place at a certain time. Like, I think we've done a great job of being able to build our program of being who we are. I've been myself as a coach. I've been trying to put my personality on the program. I obviously have my strengths and my weaknesses, and each player does too. And I think our ability to just, like, do what we do and show up every day and really compete, I think has been really important for us. We make every play count in everything that we do. Like, that I think is really important in getting better. Like, if our guys are in the dining hall, like, they're opening and closing doors for people. They are taking up their trash. Like, they're saying please, they're saying thank you. Like, same with class, like, they're being active, engaged. And then, when they get to us on the floor, like, every play counts. The minute they walk into our facility, like, what you do counts. Dynamic warm-up, skeleton, finishing. And I think we just put so much stress on that, like, our guys know that, like, getting better is literally in every single area of their life. Of, like, hey, man, like, this better be the best dynamic freaking warm-up we've ever had, because it's going to get our mind and body connected. We're going to be ready to have a great practice. And then I think the last thing is, like, you got to appreciate the journey, because you are going to hit a plateau. There's going to be days where you're getting up jump shots and, like, man, this isn't going in, or, you're trying to grow in an area, maybe academically, and it's just, maybe you're just not pushing through and getting the grade that you want. Like, I think you have to take a step back and just assess all of the work that you've done, the mountain that you've climbed, the people that have supported you. And I think when you have that level of gratitude, I think it brings about just that more joy. And I think that can really keep you going.
Yeah. And I think to relate it right to my end of it, and my end of the spectrum, is something that I always say is, comparison is the thief of joy.
Yeah. 100%.
Right. So when I'm looking right and left of anyone that I'm around, right, whether it's friends, coworkers, people that I aspire to reach to, or whatever, you know, everyone's circumstances are different. So they're at where they're at because they've put in the proper work and it was their time. And I think we get caught up, and in a way it's a form of just human jealousy. And, as human beings, we are naturally jealous. And it's just a matter of understanding that and just fighting that off. And like you're saying, run your own race, and your process and your result will come into fruition when the time is necessary, when the time is correct. So I think it's great, Coach. Um, so we talk about this a lot, and maybe not in a basketball way, but we talk about the term adversity,
Mhm.
right? And we talk about the values of adversity and the places that it could kind of propel us into our life when used and taken the perspective of. So, what's your take on adversity and the value of it, and how you can improve from it? And also, if you would like to share maybe some adversity in your life, whatever
Yeah.
obviously you feel comfortable with, that you used to make you better and affect, more importantly, after that, affect the people around you to inspire change through them
Yeah.
as well.
No doubt. So I think adversity is important. I think we talk a lot about embracing adversity, problem solving, and finding ways to win. I think you need it for your personal growth. I think it helps you become more creative and innovative because you're going to have to, when you problem solve, it may not be the same solution that you've employed previously. So I think there's a lot of growth that comes with adversity, and I think it gets you out of your comfort zone. Obviously, that uncomfortability is huge, and then I think when you can push through that adversity, it just increases your overall confidence in yourself and your ability to handle change in the future, and it's just going to make you better equipped to handle some of those challenging situations. But I think you're going to have that like mental and emotional strength and fortitude to be like, this is good. Like I have a resilient mentality. I'm going to push through this. So, I think adversity is really good. I think, we try and introduce it in certain ways in basketball, in practice. Um, and then I think, all our guys handle adversity. I think it's working through with them on how they feel like they need to problem solve to find a way to win and battle through this. I think for me, adversity that I've faced in my life, my sophomore year of college, I was at the wrong place at the wrong time, and I unfortunately had an injury. And um, the year before that, my stepfather had just like walked out on our family. I was a freshman in college. I was coming into my house for fall break, and he just left, and that was it. And that was like a really hard back-to-back events for me in my life. Um, and I remember just like really struggling with a lot of that, and going to seek help, and hearing someone tell you that like you're dealing with anxiety and depression, and like you're 20 years old, like you think you're invincible at that moment, and that's not what you want to hear, right? Like you never think someone's going to say that to you. And I remember like trying to explain like I remember my dad, who we have a great relationship, like asking me about it, and I just like I couldn't talk to him about it, and like he didn't know how to talk to me about it at that time. And I remember like being on campus, like that was something as like men, like we didn't talk about. I didn't know how I could talk about it to my teammates. I didn't know how I could talk about it to my coach. Like it was definitely something that I was like dealing with, that you just like makes you kind of feel even more isolated and alone, because it's like who's equipped to have these conversations. And I remember when I got into coaching, I was like, I am going to be equipped to have these conversations. Like I'm absolutely going to be equipped to do this, because we don't talk enough about this as males, and it is incredibly prevalent with men. And my guys need to know that I've been through this, and I can help them work through their own challenges in their life with their mental health and well-being. And every team meeting, our first team meeting of the year, I love the movie The Town. I know Joe Mazzulla like kind of made that famous with his like saying he watches like 20 times a week. I don't do that. I probably watch it once a year. But I love that scene when Ben Affleck's like, listen, like I need your help. I can't tell you what you're doing, but we're gonna hurt somebody. And Jeremy Renner looks at him and was just like, whose car are we taking? And I show our guys that clip, and I was like, that is what you're gonna expect from me every single day. I'm not going to ask. You got a problem? Whose car are we taking? And then I show him this graphic of this person in a hole. And, a priest walks by and offers like some prayer. A doctor walks by, prescribes him something. And then the friend hops in the hole. And the dude's like, well, what are you doing down here? He's like, because I've been here before and I know my way out. And I send that to all my guys who are struggling with that. And that's my approach. And I think being able to channel what I had going on with my mental health and well-being, which no one should ever feel ashamed of, but I think we do because not enough people are equipped to be able to talk about it and there's a stigma around it. But I think when you can become more self-aware of like, hey man, like these are my triggers, like this is what sets me off, and this is what's happened in my life and this is how I need to improve and get better. It's all connected. And I think that's how I've tried to transition what I've had going on in my life to be equipped to really be able to help and make an impact with what my kids have going on.
Well, yeah, that's fantastic. And again, like it just goes to show, like you never really know what people are going through,
Mm-hmm.
right? We could see people and everyone looks great, but you don't really know unless people are willing to let you into a certain point where they're telling you their adversity.
Yeah.
I think, right. It just sounds like to me and how I relate this, right. I always try to relate it to my version. And when you said the whole, I think back to when I first found out I was sick. I had like 3 surgeries and I couldn't get like a positive diagnosis from my team. It's a very weird situation. They knew it was a tumor, but they didn't know like exactly what form. So we couldn't set up a treatment plan. So there was about 3-4 months where I was walking around like knowing there was something wrong, but with no action to be taken place. So it was kind of like I was in like limbo. So it just sounded like I wasn't equipped or ready for that situation. So at the time, I did what I was trained to do, like you're saying, what our problems are. Like I just completely shut down. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't talk to my friends really about it. Like I talked to my mom, but that was it. And I didn't understand why, but it goes to the point where you're just saying I just wasn't equipped to handle and verbalize what I was going through. And I wasn't strong enough as a person yet to understand that it's okay to ask for help,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like I had a community rally behind me when I finally got over myself and I was like, yes, like I'm not doing great right now, so I need some help. You know what I mean? And then the value of that propelled me in the lesson for the rest of my life, I believe, because now I'm comfortable in a vulnerable state. Like when I'm vulnerable, I understand that I've been there before. So I'm going to use the same tactics and the same values and the same perspective that I was able to pull from obviously being sick in that unfortunate situation. So now whatever else walks on me at any point in my life, I'm going to be ready for it. And more importantly, which is why I love doing what we're doing right now, is just trying in my small way, like we all try to help in our small way, to just try to push positivity and push perspective and push growth. I think that's why guys like yourself and myself, we fell in love with coaching.
Mm-hmm.
I love the X's and O's. I remember right when I was there, we were talking about icing ball screens, and that's great. But I love, especially at the high school level, right? I love being able to just go to one of my guys and just ask, like, yo, how was your day? Like, what's going on at home? And then they'll just open up to you. And I think that's very powerful because obviously, like you're saying, they're vulnerable enough to share that with myself, you, other coaches, other leaders. And I think that's very powerful. And I think it's something that shouldn't be taken lightly in the business that we live in, right? We are responsible for impacting anywhere from 15 to 20 young adults every single year, and our impact can push them to be great or on the other side of it. So it's extremely powerful, and I think the lessons that you can pull from mental health, adversity, they're all so great if you could just find the perspective in the pain and use the pain to propel you to become better. And it's harder said than done. If this is all easy when you're on the other side of it, when you're in the middle of it is when it's the hardest. So if you could just come to that, I just think there's so much growth potential that you're going to look back and in a weird way, be grateful for everything that you went through to an extent, of course.
No doubt.
Oh man. So how we normally like to, and we've known each other a good amount now. So normally how we like to somewhat end the podcast is, right. I always ask, like, what does simple mean to you? What's your take on it? And how, maybe it aligns with what you got going on, and how you could, use it, any tactics to make yourself
Yeah.
or the people around you a little bit better.
Yeah. No, I think simple is just like a mindset for me of it's easy. Like, and I think when we talk about just like getting better every day, it's that mindset of like it's simple to get better every day. Like you show up, you're disciplined, you're consistent, you do the work, you pound the rock, and then we're gonna do it over the next day. And I think when you have a really clear vision and you know who you are and where you're going, I think that work is just really simple.
It is. It's something that me and my friends, I get made fun of. I have like 5 sayings I say, and all my good friends make fun of me for it. Like I'll say like simple, done, it's that easy, not hard. Like I
Yeah.
just say like these 2, 3 words, and like no matter what's going on, like I'll just end it with any of that, and
Yeah.
they're like, "All right, here you go again." But
Yeah.
like in a way, it's like you're tricking your mind to really make it think it is that simple. And obviously,
Yeah.
life is not simple, right? There's a lot of things that go on, but I believe that we have the power to make it simple with our actions and our perspective.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the reason why I started this. And it's, I say it a lot, but it's really a word that helped me get through some really hard times. So it means a lot to me. So to have people like yourself and Joe Mantegna on, and my friend Jalen and my doctor,
Mhm.
I'm very grateful for your time, that you would take, a small window out of your busy life with your family and your job to,
Simple,
come
man.
talk to 30 minutes about, basketball and life.
Yeah.
I think it's great, man. I really appreciate it.
No, this was awesome. I loved it. I love what you're doing. And hopefully I'll see you this weekend, man, at Blair Academy. So
Oh man, listen, the perk bench mob, we call it, man. We had the streets talking.
I like
We
it,
are
man. I'm
completely
ready for it.
we are completely out of control right now.
I love it,
We're
man.
locked in.
I
But
love
all
it.
right, coach, appreciate you.
You got it, man. Thanks, John.
Take care.